one of the common lines that you're given by the elders or other witnesses when you mention doubts or that you're going to leave is, was it that bad? It was sometimes. Depending on who you are, it could be really bad. So I want to start a playlist of examples of this. Because, it was that bad. So I am reading Thought Reform and the Psychology of Totalism, written by a man who conducted a series of interviews in 50s and 60s of people who were held prisoner and psychologically and physically tortured in communist China into giving false confessions, other things, a conspiracy against the Communist Party. They were brainwashed. And as I'm reading it, I am feeling extremely anxious and starting to stress. I've never been diagnosed with PTSD, so this is, I'm not diagnosing myself right now, but it brought up old self-inflicted trauma. So, because I started thinking about, oh my God, what if they do that to me? What if they do that to my kids or my wife? Not rational thoughts. If you're in a first world democratic country, it's pretty unlikely that the government is going to round you up and torture you. The likelihood is not zero, but for the average person, it's pretty unlikely. As a white dude, it's pretty unlikely. So I'm thinking like, oh, this isn't rational. I need to discard these thoughts. I had thoughts like this for years and years and decades, because I would lay awake in bed as a kid and as an adult and think about how I would be tortured, because you're constantly told how the government's going to round you up, and here's what they did to our brothers in Russia and China and Nazi Germany, and here's the horrible torture that they underwent. They had interviews of people who had lived through this. We watched videos of this. This wasn't a hypothetical. It wasn't this could happen. It was, here's how it did happen to this guy who was held captive in solitary confinement for 5 years. And I'd have a real worry imagining solitary confinement, because that would just destroy me. And so I'm trying to think of all this stuff. I was like, oh my God, what if I can't remember lyrics to this song? It's going to drive me crazy because I won't be able to look it up. One of the things they talk about too is like how Satan will know your weaknesses and try and use them against you. And so I'm thinking of ever more horrifying tortures, and then thinking, oh my God, I hope Satan doesn't know. This was not just as a kid. This was going into adulthood. And it's embarrassing to talk about because it sounds ridiculous. But as an adult, I would lay awake at night and think about how people could torture my family. I don't have to imagine, because there's plenty of countries right now that do this to activists or political dissidents or whatever, people they don't like. And like, I would break. There's no way I could do that. And then Jehovah will remove his protection from me. And you don't realize in the moment, if your kid's being tortured in front of you, how much protection are you really being offered? Not very much. But I would think about like, oh no, what if there's a SWAT team or raid on our house when the world is ending? There's not really many good ways to get out. Well, I could make a trap door in the closet. Maybe I could dig a tunnel, and then we'd have an escape route. But I don't really have the money to dig and shore up a tunnel, and what if that damages the foundation? And I'm gonna need a sump pump because like water's gonna build up in the tunnel. And what about snakes? We have snakes. I don't really want snakes or raccoons or possums living in my egress tunnel. This would legitimately keep me up at night, and it's ridiculous to worry about now. But when you are in a cult and you believe it completely, and you are not only given hypotheticals of in the near future the government's going to come and get you, when they use real examples of like, and here's when they did, this guy in Germany, this lady from Russia, it makes it feel very real. The constant propaganda overrides your critical thinking. So I tortured myself psychologically for years, worrying about a ridiculous scenario for someone in my position. Not everyone in the world. I am well aware that this is a very privileged position to be in. But for me, personally, where I live, it is a stupid thing to worry about. The other thing I want to talk about in a different video is the book itself, because it's amazing the methods and goals and techniques used by the communist Chinese government on the prisoners that they wanted to psychologically break, because it is extremely similar to the methods and goals and tools used by Watchtower on their members. Watchtower is an extremely low-budget version, basically. They can't imprison people. They can't torture people physically. They torture them mentally. There's a lot of stuff they can't get away with, but they use very similar psychological tools to break people down and build them back up into good little cultists. And while they can't imprison you, if you are a believing member when they disfellowship you, they can get you to force yourself into solitary confinement, which is nice. So while they didn't, well, I wouldn't say they didn't, they exposed me to plenty of psychologically harmful images and stories and ideas, and then let me torture myself with them. And that's still, those irrational fears still crop up from time to time. It's not pleasant. It's very unpleasant to think about what could someone do, what's the absolute worst thing someone could do to your wife or your kids or yourself. Lovely things to dwell on. Thanks, Watchtower. I appreciate you putting that into my head. So, was it that bad? Yeah, it was pretty bad. That was bad. It's not the only thing. We will revisit this idea in the future. But it does get better. This conditioning wears off. And, as I mentioned, even though it happened, the emotional pathways, those mental, old mental loops are still there. But now I am able to quickly realize, wait, why am I getting anxious? Oh, it's an irrational fear. I can try and dismiss that. And continue to read the very interesting book. Not pleasant read, but interesting. So it does get better. You can get over it. You can move on. It's a lovely day. My nails are green. And I hope that you are having a good day too. I appreciate you watching all the way to the end. You person, you. I'm gonna say Steven. Hi, Steven. My limited analytics says it's more likely to be a man. So, if you're Steven, hi. Hope you have a great day, Steve. Anyway, get out there, do something good, enjoy life. We'll see you next time.